only 16.5% of those in the workforce are entrepreneurs. And so we're a very special breed, right? There's no guarantee it's all on us. And so when it's all on us, we can be very much high drivers, get it done. And then we forget why we created it in the first place. We created it so that we could go and either build our mission, our vision, and also have freedom. And a lot of entrepreneurs never find the freedom because
we're your co-hosts, Vicky and Laura, and this is the Resilient Entrepreneurs Podcast, the ultimate guide for ambitious business founders and startups. Hear from business heroes who've faced unexpected challenges as we unpack how they slayed their dragon and reignite your instinct to conquer your dragon.
Kim, welcome to the Resilient Entrepreneurs Podcast. We're so excited to have you here today. We're going to go on a journey of ups and downs and challenges and probably a story that, some people are going to be taken aback by, and that's great. And then we're going to tell the story of how you succeeded and climbed your mountain, slayed your dragon, whatever terms you want to use. We've got a good story today. So thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Oh, great. Let's get started right at the beginning because I love to kind of figure out where the story started. So tell us a bit what childhood was like for you. Did you start any entrepreneurial businesses back when you were young, or did that come later?
I love that question as much as I would love to share. Oh, I started, my lemonade stand and made $1 million or whatever it might be. I really didn't. And sometimes it's hard to face the truth when you're my age, but to be quite honest, I struggled. My story, if we just go to college, we were told that we needed to go to college, and I actually flunked out of college. I had a little bit too much fun. I definitely enjoyed the social part, but I'll be honest, I also didn't know what I really wanted to do. I thought that I needed to become something that was easy to explain, a teacher, an accountant. Nobody ever really talked about entrepreneurship back then. And I'm 52 now, just to kind of give everybody some, conceptual where we're at and what my age is. And so I had to figure it out. And so I happened to see an ad in a newspaper, which we don't have anymore. So we're just going to say online for those who are young and listening, that said, you can have an opportunity to make 6 figures or more, and there is no glass ceiling. And so I replied to the ad, and it happened to be in real estate. And so I went to a course. I was like, I think I can do this. We don't have kids yet. We were newlyweds. I was like, I'm going to go do this. This sounds amazing. And so I started my entrepreneurial journey in real estate, being 100% commission. And I was in that role for 15 years. And within that 15 years, single, just married, ended up having 2 kids. And that's how it started.
That is quite the, it's a somewhat traditional role, but not one that we think of when we're young and thinking, is it lawyer, accountant, doctor? And also it does take entrepreneurial spirit to be on a commission only role. It's all on you and it's all on you. So tell us now what's important for you, because we know that you play in the entrepreneurial space as we do. What's the important message for you to share with entrepreneurs who you work with today?
Hang on, hold that thought. I apologize for the interruption. I just wanted to take 15 seconds of your time to thank you for being a part of this growing community of resilient entrepreneurs. If you could do us just one massive favor and subscribe, you'll be notified of the next great episode of this podcast. And speaking of great episodes, let's get right back to it.
I love that so much. So just to add on to a little bit of my journey, so I ended up then moving into a leadership role where I was on a salary. And so I ended up being a CEO of multi-million-dollar brokerages where I ran the companies. I led 183 other 100% commissioners, as well as a staff of 6. And I guess, what had happened to me is I ended up having a traumatic skiing accident where I was forced to slow down. I was with my husband and one of my daughters and fell on the mountain, and mom always falls down. And so My daughter was like Snapchat to her sister who wasn't with us. Mom's down, ha ha ha. But mom did not get back up, and I ended up breaking my tibia, my fibia, and my ankle. And what had happened was I was in a role of what I would consider to be drama, a constant problem solving, working 70 hours a week, and really not in my joy zone and just doing in that CEO position. And when I was forced to slow down, I took a moment to really reflect and think, okay, what am I going to do with the second half of my best life? I truly believe that I will be here very healthy until I'm 100, based on what I study, what I research, how I take care of my health. And I thought to myself, well, what do I want to do that's bigger, greater? What have I always wanted to do? And so for any listeners who are out there who are kind of questioning what they're doing, they know they want more, maybe they've been thinking about entrepreneurship, starting something, which is so easy now today with the online world. That's me. My story is I pulled the Band-Aid, I retired, no guarantee, even though we had 2 kids in college and my income mattered. And 3 years ago, I started my business for the love of. And it can be done at any time. I truly, truly believe that if you have clarity and you know what you're good at and where you want to go. And so I just want to empower anybody, whether it's a side hustle, whether it's a full-time thing, whether you are a stay-at-home mom and you want something to do, it's so easy now if you're willing to take the risk.
Yeah, I agree with you. Tell us a little bit more about your business, For the Love of. What do you do and what's your mission?
Yes, so thanks for asking. So my mission is anytime you're in my space, whether we're right now, you're hearing our voices or you're watching us on a square, is that I just want to make sure you leave empowered, or I should say inspired and empowered, and go take action. And so at For the Love of, we're a personal and professional development company. I'm a keynote motivational speaker. I'm a #1 author, and then I'm a high performance coach. And I specialize in working with entrepreneurial women and working moms who are attempting to get through the overwhelm and find their own balance.
Oh, as a working entrepreneur mom, I can definitely understand and relate to the need for balance. What is balance? Help us, please. Give us some ideas.
Right. The naughty B word, as I like to say. Really, I don't necessarily think I have the answer or the magic bullet on, okay, if you do this, you'll have balance. I would say it's about, this is why I say find your balance. And I believe your balance based on the phase of your life that you're in. Clearly, if you are at home and you have 2 and 5-year-old, or even a 1 and 3-year-old, that's very different than somebody who has a 10 and 12-year-old, and very different than somebody who has semi-adulting age children, as I do. Semi-adulting, they come home, they steal toilet paper and your groceries, right? Because they're 21 and 23 and they're still on your cell phone plan. That's why I call them semi-adulting. But I think it's taking a moment to breathe, step back, and really get introspective and say, okay, what is important to me right now, and what can I do right now? What can I do? Because it is different. We go through all of these phases in our lives in order to figure out what we can do to find our balance. That's one. And then I would say the second thing that I notice a lot with overwhelmed working moms is they're constantly comparing themselves to others. And so whether they're comparing themselves to me, who I can have 2 hours in the morning to journal and think and meditate, but yet they have littles. And so it's taking a step back and just asking yourself, wait, what can I do to find my simple balance, whether it's 10 minutes a day walking outside, or whether it's just saying, hey, honey, you put the kids to bed, I need a moment. It doesn't have to be huge. It's just can we find just a little space for ourselves so we can actually, and I said the word, feel balance. Sometimes we don't even realize we're in balance if we don't take a moment to actually feel it.
You bring up such a good point there. And I think what you're saying about, comparing yourself to others is so real, especially because we're in such an age of influencers at your fingertips. Every time you scroll, you see advice from this person, this person. I think if you're an entrepreneur too, if you're anything like me, you're of course following tons of other
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, and they're sharing their morning routines and they're this, that, and that, and telling you you've got to go work out and do this. And there's some days where I'm just like, I'm just trying to get through the day. Never mind, find time to do this, that, and everything they're adding. And it just feels like added stress and adding to the overwhelm instead of taking it away. So it's
Mm-hmm.
so important to know who you're comparing yourself to, because apples and apples are not always equal.
Right. And even if what you're seeing online is true, I mean,
Yeah. Oh, good
come
point.
on.
Yeah. Fake news, right? How much of it is actual real? Yeah. It's so
Yeah,
different.
it's so good.
Yeah. I appreciate too how you're talking about feeling balanced.
Mm,
And to me, that I also have a
mm.
coaching background, and to me, that really brings to mind the importance of presence, of being tuned in to our body, even if the world seems like it's over busy, that we can come back to self and check in on how we're actually doing. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good, Vicky. And I'll be honest, this is probably, I've had to learn this skill. So if anybody has ever taken, a personality assessment, whether it's the DISC, right, or Strength Finders, or there's so many great ones out there, right, Enneagram. And so if I go to DISC, I know I'm a very high D naturally, and I'm a driver, and I can remember back from being a leader and saying, no, we don't have time for that. Nope, nope, no feelings. Like, we're all about action. We got to get things done. We got to get things done on the checklist. And nope, men wouldn't talk this way. We don't talk about feelings if we talk about the masculine and the feminine. But, and maybe it comes with age, I'm not really sure. But one of the things I challenged my coaching clients to this year when they were setting their goals was not just the strategic, the what is your gross revenue you're looking for in your business? How are you going to get it? What are your focuses and building your strategies and your systems? I asked them the question this year of how do you want to actually feel when you accomplish those goals? And not only that, what lifestyle do you want to build? So, especially as entrepreneurs, when we talk about freedom, and oh, by the way, I just looked up a stat when I was studying before showing up here in the United States. And so I'd be interested even, I just did the United States because that's where I'm at, but only 16.5% of those in the workforce are entrepreneurs. And so we're a very special breed, right? There's no guarantee, it's all on us. And so when it's all on us, we can be very much high drivers, get it done. And then we forget why we created it in the first place. We created it so that we could go and either build our mission, our vision, and also have freedom. And a lot of entrepreneurs never find the freedom because they're not taking a moment to fully be engaged. And so one of the quotes I give to my coaching clients, because I'm a high performance coach, I explain to them high performance living, which is what we're all looking to do, is the ongoing feeling of full engagement, joy, and confidence that comes from consistently living from your best self. And that gives us an opportunity, one, not to compare like what we talked about, and two, slow down, like what you said, Vicky, and just say, okay, why am I doing this in the first place? And how can I recognize the freedom and the feeling that I want from being an entrepreneur that you don't get when you're W-2? You don't get when somebody says to clock in, clock out. It's not the same.
Man, that feeling of freedom, I think that drives a lot of entrepreneurs. And then they don't realize sometimes, especially in the startup phase, sort of all that comes with it, right? Because freedom sounds great, and you are free. You're free from a boss, but you're not free from responsibilities or risk. Those are the two biggest ones that come really hard, really fast. And figuring out how to balance all that to get then the freedom, what you really, really want, you really, really desire. And recently I heard a lot of talk about like enough. And I think that's something we should talk about more too as entrepreneurs. Like, what is enough for you? because, enough for me might be different than enough for Vicky, might be different than enough for you, Kim, that might be enough for Jeff Bezos, right? There's a different levels of enough. Some people are super ambitious and want to be a billionaire. I know I don't want to be a billionaire. I just want to build a business with impact that gives me the lifestyle, which I already have an incredible lifestyle. I get to take care of my kids. I get to be here. I get to be present for them. That to me is the greatest gift. That's huge amounts of wealth for this time right now in my life.
Yes,
what it might look like 10 years from now might be totally different when they're off and, like you said, adulting or semi-adulting.
Warning,
you know I mean?
warning.
It's going to change again. Yeah, I know it's coming. It's going to change again. And that's a beautiful thing. But it's really hard sometimes to just live in the present. So I love that you're focused on that.
Yeah, yeah. And we can't do that unless we slow down. And it's super hard. A tactical, this would be a great one for people to write down as entrepreneurs, because we're so much, I say it, working in the business, right? Doing the JOB, as they say, or whatever it might be. And we've heard the term of on the business. On the business is when we revisit our vision, our mission, have a relationship with our P&L, our profit and loss statement, our numbers. Why did we set that number to begin with? And so I teach a concept of one day a month going and doing what's called a WOB day, WOB, we call it. I have like t-shirt, WOB day, here I am. And this is our work on business day. And so whether it's a half day or it's a full day, I encourage a full day, but sometimes we have to start small. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. And if we've never done it before, can we go find 4 hours in your schedule? And so I give a whole WOB day agenda. So the WOB day is just that. We visit our goals. We set all these goals, but then we never look at them, right? We want to have a relationship with them. Do they even matter anymore? Because we can change, things could change, right? Maybe now I am a mom and got pregnant. Now maybe my goals changed, right? And then asking ourselves the questions, right? Like, what do we want? What did we do well, right? Like Living in the Gain versus the Gap, such a good book for entrepreneurs, right? What did I do well? What do I want to improve on? Maybe I'm going to real quickly reconcile my monthly expenses so that when tax season comes, it's not all at once out of the shoebox. Those are all work on business things. That's a WOB day. It can be life-changing to take that moment. And to me, that's a slowdown because you're not going and looking for more business, or especially as solopreneurs or small businesses, we're wearing all the hats. We're the sales, we're the marketing, we're the customer service, we're all the stuff. Your list is never going to end as a solo. It just never is. And so this gives you an opportunity. The other thing I encourage is don't do it in your normal workspace. Go somewhere else, because your WOB day is going to go down the drain if you're in your normal workspace. So
such great advice. I really love that concept. I'm going to take it on. So it's once a month.
Once a month.
Yeah, I think I'm going to add to that, Kim. Is it okay if I also add a WOM day? Like work on me? Just take the whole day off once a month? Is that cool?
Okay, I'm going to steal yours. You steal mine. We're getting t-shirts.
We're on. I love it. Swap t-shirts. That's fantastic. Listen, you do raise a point as well around working on your business. And as you were talking, I was relating to a few startup entrepreneurs who possibly their bottom line isn't looking so good because they're possibly working too much on the business with the admin, the things, but not chasing, not such a great word, but not seeking business, not talking and building relationships, not securing clientele. So talk to us about the importance of that part of being an entrepreneur, of actually getting the sale.
Oh, that's so good, Vicky. Okay, so I started my business 3 years ago, and I knew that at this phase in my life, I did not want to give up the lifestyle that we built. And oh, by the way, my husband, at that time, he was not retired yet from the fire department. So he's a firefighter. So we know the income, glass ceiling, you only make so much. It's great, right? Benefits are awesome. I always say that's why I married him. So entrepreneurs, go marry somebody who's got a pension. It's a good thing, right? No, good insurance.
Right? The fact that he's a fireman. Come on, lady.
Yeah. That's like a win-win to me.
I can only say that because we've been together for 27 years, so we laugh at it. But anyway, I do know what my first month looked like. I very vividly remember what I did when I ripped the Band-Aid from making a very nice CEO salary to zero guarantee. So this is very fresh. So when we talk about inspire, empower, and promote action, I would be like, you are all action when you start, all action, because we can all try to get the website to look perfect and pretty and get caught up in Canva or whatever we do. And I'm always like, but nobody even knows you have a website. Like, you got to go make some money, honey. Okay. So the first thing I did is I made 3 commitments to myself when I started my business. One, I was in a place in my life where I could actually afford to hire somebody right away. And sometimes we are when we're 50 versus 20. When I was 20, no. But at 50, yes, I hired a social media director. I was like, I don't not time to learn Instagram at this moment. Okay. 2, I decided my word of the year was confidence. I choose a word every year, and I knew that I had to say something to myself every day to get out of imposter syndrome, to be like, you can do it, your age doesn't matter. All those things. The third thing that I did is I decided I will every single day journal to get my mindset right. Journal to get my mindset right. I'm going to go over that in a second, but I'm going to give you my action, because in order as an entrepreneur to close business and make money, no matter what you're selling, you're all selling something, whether it's a service or a product. You have to, like you, Vicky, said, have relationships and conversations with your ideal client. The first month in the business, I had 37 ideal client conversations because I could not close a deal unless I had a conversation. And I didn't care. I was calling anybody and everybody for coaching clients. Even if they didn't want to coach, I'm like, who cares? You're going to have a conversation with me. Like, we're going to talk about this, because I also have to practice talking about, right? If let's say I'm coaching somebody in real estate, I might say to them, if you're not in real estate, how are you going to sell real estate? Like, you got to actually be in it, right? And so my recommendation for anybody new would be get into action to have the conversations with your ideal clients, 1, and 2, learn the skill set of closing. And it's going to sound like, ooh, icky. I don't want to be a hard salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, we have so many resources out there, from books to podcasts to whatever, to ChatGPT to AI, whoever. You could write a script in that. The point is, you cannot practice your mission. You can't sell your beautiful product that's going to help people unless you actually have sales. You also, until you make money, you can't give money. And I always say to my people who are stuck on the money piece, I'm like, if I made 4 times what I made this year, do you know how much I could give? Do you know how many people I could hire that could help? Or like the vision that I have of the things I want to do with my clients? That's where it's like, go make money. You need the momentum. So I don't know if that answered your question, Vicky, but that's kind of where my brain went. For the newbies, get into action. Don't worry about all that WOB stuff quite yet. So,
yeah, I think you nailed it spot on. And I think it's such an important message in the startup phase. Such an important message, because we can get so caught up in the planning, so caught up in the what ifs, and
and make it pretty, trying to make it pretty.
Make it pretty. What's my logo? I'm like, who cares?
Yeah. Do you have a client yet? Yeah. Get the client first. Honestly, I think that's just a quick one, because I'm a designer, right? So I design logos for a living. And, I will get clients that just want to create the beautiful logo. And I'm like, so what's your mission? What are you trying to do? Who's your client? They no idea. Like, totally like, wait, what? I just need a logo. I've got a business name. I just need a logo. Like, hang on, slow down, wait. You gotta get the strategy piece. You gotta know what you're doing, or you gotta take action. Are you sure your target market is even your target market? Have you spoken to people yet? What you did in that taking action and calling 30 people right away just to see if they would take on your coaching, you probably gained so much data, even on the people who didn't become clients, just by talking to them and figuring out what they needed, what they wanted. So there's so much in that too. If you're not sure yet, go talk to people, figure out if you think this is what you have to offer, go see if people want that thing. There's so much in that early stage that we get caught up in, like you said, trying to make everything perfect, which I do believe is a little bit of imposter syndrome creeping in, right? Because you think I'm not quite good enough, so I'm going to make myself look as good as possible. But meanwhile, it's just your own perfectionism creeping in, your imposter syndrome creeping in, just holding you back from doing the thing that's going to make the difference and making that scary phone call, that scary sales call, the things that make you uncomfortable and you don't want to do. I know so many people get stuck right there. And yet it's the taking the action, it's the figuring out your strategy, and you build and build and build. And over time, my son, real quick side story, has an art business, and we created a logo for him when he first started. And he's just completely rebranded this year. And now it's what he wanted it to be. Now he's building the business he really wants. And he's really proud to go out there and show his brand. He's even like created merch with his logo on everything now. So cool. And it's like, but he wouldn't have ever got to that logo if he didn't just do the business and just get in the business and figure it out and talk to people and find out what people want and keep building and building and growing. And what it was in the beginning to where it is now 3 years later is completely different business. And that's a good thing to remember too. Like, you don't got to get stuck on the little things, the logo design, the business cards, the website. Get something out there that can create an identity that people can connect you to, but get going, take action. This is a really, really good message for people in that startup stage. Yeah. When you're ready to scale, build the rest,
I love that. I love that. My gosh. Love it.
Thanks. Some market advice thrown in today for everybody else.
Yeah, it's great. And so as we're talking about being stuck, Kim, what do you help your clients with when they feel stuck? I don't like to say they are stuck because we're never actually stuck. We just think we are. Well, what are some action points for them?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so this goes back to when I had said the third thing that I decided to do was this journaling thing. So all my life, I was an inconsistent, consistent journaler, I would say. I would listen to whatever, whether you read the Miracle Mornings and Hal Elrod and you do the Savers, or you go to a convention, or you're like me and you just are like, I love the smell of a new notebook and a new pen, and they would pile up. And, the more and more that I researched, our mindset and how our brains work, and that, unfortunately, our brains are telling us we're not good enough all the time. We know that we have 60,000 thoughts per day, and of those thoughts, 75% are negative. And I was like, no, I have to be in it. I have to do this. There is no plan B. That is the other thing I told myself. When we have a plan B, our brains know we have a plan B. I was like, no plan B. So I was journaling these prompts. There were just 3 of them. I have this like little notebook. Literally, it's $1, nothing fancy, right? And I started this and I got the prompts from a podcast. I can even look at the date, 1/3/23, and I was journaling it. And I was about a month into my journey, and I had a girlfriend text me and she said, "Hey, Kim, yeah, I really want to work on something. I want to create a new habit around the belief that I have of myself. And the only person I could think of that would hold me accountable would be you. And so I would just like you to help me with this." And I had said, well, I'm doing this journaling thing. They all say it works, whoever they are. Like, I'm just going to do it. I committed to it. So why don't we do this? I will journal and take a picture of my journal entries. I'll send it to you. And then you send me a picture of yours, and we'll hold each other accountable, because like, I'm going to just go prove them that they're wrong. I was like, no, this can't really work, right? And what had happened was, what people don't know about my friend is she's 4 years into choosing to live with ALS, choosing to live. And she starts with her mindset every day. And so when she would send me her journal entries, she would look at her eye gaze, which is an iPad, and she would speak with her eyes and send me a picture with her eyes, because she no longer can speak. And she wanted to feel every day when she woke up that she was releasing. She was taking in gratitude for the life that she is choosing to live. And I say she's choosing to live because that's not the diagnosis she was given. So she shouldn't actually even still be here based on the diagnosis she was given. And what had happened, ladies, is I started sharing her story. And so when somebody was struggling, I would say, listen, I know this is going to sound so lame, and I didn't believe it for 50 years either. Like, imagine what I would be if I actually did something like this, 25 years ago. I said, this is where we're going to start. We're going to start here. And so little by little, unsolicited, people would send me their journal entries, the pictures of them after sharing Cindy's story. And then somebody one day said, Kim, you should publish that in a journal. And I'm like, if that ain't my business plan, what are we talking about here? But I did also decide I would slow down and listen. Like when we think about listening, who is our ideal client and what should we be doing and all of these things. And lucky for me, my sister is also a publisher. So I did end up publishing my own journal with my own journal prompts based on research on what we can do at the start of our day or the end of our day to work with our brain so that it can help guide us through those challenges as we're starting our own business so that we can fully go into our business in our souls, in our soul, in ourselves, believing in ourselves, because it does start there. It's like making the calls, Laura, you said, like it's not easy. I mean, it's not all roses over here. That could be a whole nother conversation about the real ugly behind the scenes, but that's what I have people do. And so I give them these entries. They don't even have to buy my journal. I give them the free download. I'm like, go do this. Let's try it and let's test it. If you do not feel different in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever we set as a goal, you tell me. But let's go test it. Let's go see if it works. And so that's normally where we will start. And then we'll kind of peel back the onion from there.
So important. Wow. And what I'm hearing is that you're actually reprogramming your brain in that process.
All of it, the plasticity, all those things, as I'm sure you study, and yes. And it daily though, it's like exercise. Why can't I just do this once? Can I just sleep with this under my pillow? It's like, no, every day she wakes up and she's like, girlfriend, you didn't do enough. And I'm like, I can't control my first thought, but I can my second.
Yeah, I like that. I've always liked that saying. You can't control your first thought, but you can't control your second, because it's so true. Our brains lie to us all the time.
I know.
It's really annoying.
So annoying.
But I think a big part of journaling is understanding why we think the things we do. Mm-hmm. Breaking it down, making sense of it, and challenging it. Wait, is this a limiting belief that I have? Why do I think this? Why am I stuck in this place? Why do I think I'm not good enough, not strong enough, not talented enough, not brave enough? Whatever the enough is, right? Mm-hmm. Why do we think these ways? And how do we get unstuck? I think by acknowledging them first, because often they sit in the subconscious, right? The good thing about journaling is stuff comes out of the subconscious down onto paper, and you can look at it and go, wait, why? Why am I thinking this? Why am I stuck in this space? I think analyzing things is really important, and we don't do that enough because we can get so busy working in the business and just doing the day-to-day stuff and getting the admin done and the invoices sent out and the job fulfilled. It's real easy to get stuck in that place. I think some people avoid dealing with this tough stuff by keeping themselves super busy.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Mm-hmm.
Procrastination much? That poison P word. Yeah. I enjoyed a recent social media post that you shared, Kim, about the gap and about how as entrepreneurs we're always chasing the next thing.
Mm-hmm. Can you hear
Yeah, maybe we'll just let the fire truck pass. And you could ask that again, Vicki.
Are you sure you're not in Manhattan?
No, but I am in the city.
But there was your hubby. Racing by. Yeah, so I enjoyed a social media post that you recently shared about the gap and how as entrepreneurs we're often, sure, we're achieving big things, yet instead of celebrating or recognizing even what we've achieved, we're just always so future focused on what next.
Yeah, always moving the horizon, right? We're just constantly pushing the horizon, and we can't help it because we're big dreamers and we want big lives and we're entrepreneurs. But we can also then constantly never feel adequate or, like you said, enough. Like, how do we know when it's enough? And really the only way that we know is when we can take some reflection time and ask ourselves. That's why even in my journal, besides getting your day set up and your week, I should say, your week set up and then your daily mindset in the end, at the end, I have it titled Slow Down to Speed Up. because it's hard to slow down. And the whole concept of slow down to speed up is to recognize what went well this week. Who did I connect with this week? Sometimes we even forget who we connected with, like me being able to say, look at us, Laura and Vicky, across the world being connected. I mean, oh, how amazing is that now we're fast friends, and being able to write that down, which also, in your brain, then we're also connecting it. And so you are correct. We can choose to constantly move, want more, and choose to, live in the gap, as they say. That's from the book. I didn't make that up, but that's from that book, The Gap and the Gain, versus Recognize the Gain. And so I do challenge a lot of my coaching clients. We do start with what went well. And imagine just even asking your kids that. Right? A lot of times our kids will even come home from school and they'll be like, the this, the that. And I'm like, okay, well, what did go well? I mean, half the time they just say it's lunch and recess if they're little bitty itty bitties, but whatever. Maybe that was it.
That's definitely the best part of my 12-year-old's day. Absolutely. But I started telling her, look for the good, because she was really going, I hate school. Why do I have to go to school? I never want to go to school. And, every day it was like, geez, girl, look for the good. Just look for the one good thing that happens today. The teacher that makes you laugh in class, the friend that, does something silly, the whatever it is. Look for the good. And then I started with look for the great. What's great? So leveling it up a little bit by little bit for her. And it's definitely grown into better conversations between us since that. Yeah, just being a little bit more aware. But one thing you brought up, and it's a quote that I heard recently, I think it's my favorite new quote, is that a king who knows his limits will rule for a lifetime. I love the depth of that. And by limits, I don't mean like self-imposed limits. It's just know when enough is enough. Know where that thing is. The king, because when the kings, if you look at history, the ones that were overambitious and just kept conquering they didn't last very long. Most of those kings did not last very long. They were beheaded, or they were attacked, or they lost the war. Whatever it is, they don't, right? The ones who just rule in that sort of space of knowing their limits, I think there's something in that. I think that's a good take for all of us, and being able to be conscious of what that is by writing it down. There's so much value in that. I love your journal, and I think that's really good advice for all of us, and I'm going to take it on. I'm, like you said, I'm a semi-consistent journaler. I like the the mad thought writing, where if you read it, you couldn't really read it because I'm just trying to get it out of my head, because I tend to overthink. I definitely get in that space when there's a lot going on, and I need to sometimes just release it so that I can start logically thinking through things. That's my process.
Yeah, I like that. Versus mine is like a prompted one. It actually gives you the prompts for the beginning of the week to set your week up for success, and your time blocking. It's a little bit more strategic in the business, if that makes sense, and your life. And then the second part is the 5 days a week of the mindset. But it does have a release statement and the taking and the gratitude and all those things that we know research shows can help your wiring of your brain. So.
And you mentioned that you make those resources available for free on your website?
Yeah, so you can either go to kimrogne.com, and that's Rogne, so kimrogne.com. You can also directly go to a link that will bring you to a free journal download that will give you the journal prompts, and you can write them in your own notebook. And we give you some examples, as well as my PRP model. That's all about your perception and your reality and your potential. And that is at flow, FLO, like for love of, so flowself.com. So FLOSELF.com. And go download it and try it and report back.
Oh, I love that. Tell us a little bit more about that model you just mentioned.
So PRP model. So that came from the journey of where I was talking about how my journal came to be. And when I had discovered, as I was sharing Cindy's story and my story and what was happening, as I was doing studying on, okay, if I'm going to create this own journal, what I was discovering is she was literally changing the perception she had of herself, like telling herself like why she's here and what she's doing, which in turn changed her reality and her potential. And that was happening to me at the same time as well. And so from that journey of journaling is when I built out that PRP model to go with it. which is your perception of yourself. Yourself is ultimately your reality and your potential. It's who you are, what you do, and how you act. And we just created a little visual, and I coach to it a lot. And a lot of times we'll say, okay, well, what if you woke up and you said this? What would be your potential? But what if we changed it and instead you said this? And that's what the PRP model is, which will also be in the download.
Amazing. Such a great resource. And we'll include those in the show notes, of course. I do want to bring in the big R word, since our podcast is called Resilient Entrepreneurs. So, Kim, what do you reckon it takes to be resilient?
Oh, gosh. I was trying to think about this. I would say for me right now, I feel like resilience means listening, engaging, laughing, and connecting. I would say that's what it means for me right now, because when I actually listen, engage, and connect, like what we're doing right now, it feeds my soul so that then I can have the energy to be resilient in whatever I am doing in my life, not just in my business, but in all areas of my life. And so that's what I believe resilience is for me right now, or for anybody who's maybe starting their business or in, I guess I would say, the entrepreneurial world. I would just encourage them to also find, a community and engagement and connection, which can then help lift you up and inspire you so that you can feel resilient in whatever you're looking to do in your life and your business.
Oh, that's so good. It's such important advice for people. And I love your definition of resilience, because to me, it sounds like building yourself up with the good so that you can deal with what might come your way. So it's not being resilient in the moment of struggle, but it's about building yourself up. So when struggle comes, then you can face it and deal with it and keep going, because that's it. That's such it. And that's what we're really here to inspire people to do, is to keep going, because we know how hard this journey is. The entrepreneur journey is like nothing else. We love to say it's the best self-development journey you'll ever go on, because you can read all the books that you want. We're big on the self-development books, but going through it, what you learn, taking the action, doing the difficult stuff, facing the imposter syndrome, facing yourself, facing angry clients, facing the world as an entrepreneur, as a leader, and stepping into that space is a really hard one. It comes with risk and responsibility and challenges, but it also comes with joy and freedom and the ability to build something that no one else has built before. It's yours. It's from your perspective and your way to do it, and finding your way to do it really well and build your resilience to keep going is the key. And that's why we do this podcast. That's why we talk to people like you and look for your secrets, which you've shared so beautifully today. And we're so grateful for this conversation. Thank you so much. That was absolutely genius. Brilliant conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.